I was wrong about Neon. A few weeks ago, I made a video talking about why many players don't play Neon, and a lot of you were very vocal in the comments. Some of you guys agreed with what I said, but a lot of you also said that you guys play her and that Neon's actually better than I think. So, I decided to try her out more myself. Over the last week or so, I've been spamming Neon on both my alt account and my main to see how I feel about her, and after playing her, I can definitely say that I did not give her enough credit. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about my experience playing Neon, what I learned while playing her, and also try to validate or invalidate some of the points I made in my Why Nobody Plays video. And oh yeah, these points are all coming from the opinion of a Plat Diamond player, so if something's off, just keep that in mind. So, let's get started. When I first played Neon, a few things stuck out to me right away. For one, the buffs she got a few patches ago were very noticeable to say the least. Especially the buffs to her energy meter and her sprinting ability. When it comes to her energy, yes, having it deplete faster isn't the best, but the fact that the meter fully recovers after getting a kill is huge. There have been so many times where I use my sprinting ability to quickly rotate over to a site, get a kill, and then I'm able to quickly reposition thanks to the buff. Where if this wasn't the case, I would have only had about 30% of my meter left. With this change to how energy works, it feels like as Neon, I almost always have my sprint available. It feels very rewarding for players that play well and can get aggressive with her, and punishes Neons that try to play more passive and waste the resource. The second big change has to do with her slide, which can now officially be used to slide sideways. Before, you were only able to officially slide forwards, but with some practice could get Neon to slide in other directions, but for the majority of players this wasn't really an available option. The mechanical skill necessary to perform a backward slide before was really high, and to be able to do it consistently would mean that you'd probably needed to spend multiple hours in a custom game practicing her movement. Now all you really have to do is press the direction you want to slide a split second before you hit right click and you're good. This change doesn't really affect her skill ceiling, but makes her skill floor much more attainable for the average player. These quality of life changes made to Neon were helpful, and in my opinion make her a much more viable agent. The fact that her kit is so much more lenient means that you don't have to worry about small mechanical mistakes being the reason you die in some situations. Like if you mess up your backward slide and accidentally slide forwards, or even don't slide at all and then just become a free kill. The slide was very finicky before, but is now something that I truly believe anyone can use with a bit of practice. The next topic I wanted to talk about was what I learned while playing her. For one, don't be afraid to get aggressive, but not too aggressive. Your stun gives you a huge advantage in duels. If you're able to land it and then peek an angle by sliding, chances are you're going to win that fight. This will also refill your sprint meter and allow you to reposition again. When I say don't be too aggressive, I mean that you can't play her like Jett. You can't play in super cheeky off angles because you don't really have a get out of jail free card. You have to be more calculated in the fights you take. So getting information is key to knowing if it's safe to fight or not. If you have a drone clear out a site for you, you could then create a path for yourself to easily kill someone on a site. There was a situation that taught me that the hard way when I was playing her on Ascent. I saw the enemy Astra playing behind dice, so once the smokes were down, I threw up my firewall, stunned her, and wrapped around her near Gen to get the free kill. But because I didn't have all the right information, a player playing near Switch was easily able to kill me in the back while I was running at her. As Neon, it's very important to get all the info you need before you try to make a play. Jett can smoke and dash in and usually be safe in a similar situation even with info missing, but Neon can't. Although they seem similar being aggressive entries, they play very differently and require different amounts of teamwork. Jett is definitely more self-sufficient in a solo queue environment than Neon, but a good Neon can definitely carry. It just takes a bit more thought in when you want to get aggressive. The next thing I learned when playing Neon is that you want to bunny hop. A lot. Maybe not all of the time, but with Neon, bunny hopping feels a lot faster than just running at least. I don't know how much faster or if it is at all, but I definitely felt a difference in my speed when I was doing it. On top of that, bunny hopping will make you a much harder target to hit if a flanking enemy does end up seeing you. There were so many situations where I was b-hopping somewhere, an enemy saw me, started shooting at me, and then I was able to slide and get the kill on them. In those situations, if I was just running, I probably would have been one-tapped and the round would be over for me. So if you aren't used to bunny hopping, I'd definitely start getting in the habit if you want to play Neon. On the topic of movement, if you don't know how to jump peek, you should also learn how to do that as well before playing her. This is another one of those opinion things. I haven't really tested it, but because she moves faster while sprinting, it feels a lot harder to hit a jump peeking Neon than if it was any other agent doing it. At the very least, knowing how to maneuver in the air is very helpful. It's a small thing and not always necessary, but it would definitely help you, especially if you're at a level where players are hitting headshots consistently. Last but not least, I wanted to talk about her ultimate. I can say that without a doubt that this is not an ult that you could just pop at the start of the round and then just go off. It's nothing like Jett Knives. It's actually closer to something like a Reyna ult. For one, there's a timer. Once your meter runs out, the ultimate expires and it's too bad so sad. So you need to wait until you're sure that you're taking a fight before you use it. On offense, this is pretty easy since at most ranks, teams just push onto sites right away. But on defense, it's very important to get information about enemy positions before you pop it. If you pop it on A right away and the enemy team executes on B, you're kinda screwed. Another thing I learned is that I was definitely right about the time to kill. I've been one-tapped so many times while ulting, it's crazy. You'll never be able to eliminate this problem altogether, but there are some ways I found that were able to mitigate this issue. My best advice is actually not to run and gun, at least not in the traditional sense. I found the most success with it when I just held left click and jiggle peeked angles when an enemy was near me. Unlike when using a weapon, you don't have to time your shots with your jiggle to be accurate, and the laser will hit the enemy for pretty much the entire duration of the jiggle. So if you jiggle peek an enemy 2 or 3 times, you'll probably kill them. If your slide's available, it also works really well if you jiggle to tag the enemy for some damage and then slide across their screen to finish them off. It's important that when you slide though, that you treat it like a wide swing and only slide sideways. You never want to peek an enemy using your W key, and you also never want to slide forwards into an enemy since you're much easier target to hit that way. But just know that no matter what you do, there will be times where you get one tapped while playing Neon, and there's not really much you could do about it when it happens. It really is just something that you have to deal with. Now before we go, I wanted to quickly break down some of the arguments I made in my Why Nobody Plays video, especially the negative ones, and see if they still hold up. For one, yes, you still need great movement to be a great Neon. She's a lot easier than she was before, I will admit, but if you're still shift peeking corners, Neon is probably not for you. The average player could probably see at least a little bit of success with her. I definitely did, but she scales very well with player skill. Second, the time to kill on her ultimate is not as big of an issue as I originally thought. You can't just unga bunga like a jet can, but if you play it right, you can definitely get good value out of it even though it's not as strong as Bladestorm. The range and time limit, however, are a problem. The range really does limit the types of fights you can take while ulting, and in situations where enemies play retake, you almost feel like you have to push into the enemy spawn to find a kill before it runs out, because if you don't, you'll be left with a classic since you probably didn't buy a gun if you decided to ult that round. I personally think the ultimate needs a limit like it has now, but your energy shouldn't drain if you aren't shooting with it. That way there's no real pressure to find a quick kill to replenish your meter, and you won't feel like you have to throw by pushing into enemy spawns when you're using it. The final role I made was that she doesn't really fill a role needed in Valorant, and I don't really agree with that anymore. Chamber's the best opper in the game now, and to be honest, you don't really want your entry opping all the time anyways in solo queue. And Neon does a great job of creating space. Her stun is very strong and I would argue is borderline impressive at times. Her slide makes her very hard to hit, and her firewall is a pretty good tool at blocking off certain angles. She's not the best pick on every map. I found her pretty difficult to play on split and bind, although I started getting the hang of it after a while. But on some maps, her kit feels really strong to the point where I actually kind of want a Neon sometimes. So if you're a Neon main out there, just know that I apologize for what I said, and if anything, I think that more players should start playing Neon. I hope you all enjoyed the video, and if you did, don't forget to leave a like. Remember that if you want to catch me live, I stream on Twitch at twitch.tv/jittersval if you want to check me out. Also, don't forget to follow me on Twitter. And if you want to join my Discord community, there will also be a link in the description for that as well. And finally, don't forget to subscribe for more Valorant related content.